One of the world's big challenges is how to improve land tenure security for poor farmers and for migrants to peri-urban areas. High-performing registries often work well for the middle class, but not for poorer residents, who need a legal framework that protects them from arbitrary dispossession. South Africa's experience highlights the difficulties that arise in finding workable solutions. The country's restitution, redistribution and tenure reform programs, first created in the early 1990s, have been slow to deliver. Exchanges of land off-register and complex rights claims have made it hard to provide security of tenure, both in urban communities and in farming areas. Two recent experiments provide possible models to help the country move forward. In 2009, South Africa's second biggest city, Cape Town, adopted a new strategy to bring the rule of law into shantytowns on municipal land on the city's outskirts. Without legal property rights, most residents of those communities were vulnerable to eviction and lacked access to municipal services. The city partnered with a program called Violence Prevention Through Urban Upgrading to pilot a project to upgrade the settlement and allow people to remain in their homes. The project focused on Monwabisi Park, a community of about 25,000 people on the southeastern edge of Cape Town. The city agreed to issue occupancy certificates that recognised residents' rights to remain on the land, protected them against arbitrary eviction, and laid the groundwork for eventual access to the services enjoyed by city residents living in legal housing. Beginning with a full enumeration of land, structures and occupants, the project helped construct a community register, issue occupancy certificates, and extend electric power throughout the area. By November 2016, the first phase of the project ended and hundreds of residents visited the community registration office every month to update their details. Using their occupancy certificates, residents could obtain cell phones, register their children in schools, and receive medication from the health department. There is a second experiment underway in South Africa as well. Following the 1994 transition from racial apartheid to democracy, South Africa's government aimed to provide tenure security for the estimated 16 million black South Africans living in communal areas, but the lack of a clear legal framework made progress slow. At the time, a viable legal framework did exist to guide tenure reform in smaller communal areas formerly known as coloured reserves, where a series of apartheid laws had settled people of mixed race. In 2009, the land reform designated one such area, Ebenhazer, on the country's west coast, as a rural flagship project. The aim was both to transfer land held in trust by the government to Ebenhazer community members and to settle a restitution claim. Provincial officials worked with private consultants to organise a communal association to serve as landowner. They helped negotiate an agreement with white farmers to return land that had originally belonged to coloured residents. The community also developed a land administration plan that would pave the way for Ebenhazer's residents to become the legal owners of their communal territory. Ebenhazer provides a possible model for improving tenure security for other residents in coloured areas. Mozambique and Tanzania have also started to make progress in addressing related challenges, spurred forward in part by fears of land grabbing. Under Mozambique's constitution, the state owns all land. A 1997 law sought to recognise rural communities' customary tenure rights while encouraging commercial investment through 50-year leaseholds. But many communities failed to register their holdings with the central government, leaving their rights vulnerable to powerful state and corporate interests. To address the problem, a group of donors helped Mozambique establish the Community Land Initiative, a program to register community parcels in the government cadastre and empower communities to negotiate with potential investors. The initiative coordinated with national and local governments, as well as non-governmental organisations, to map the borders of community lands. The program informed community members about their land rights and how to use and protect them. It also established natural resource committees, which enable communities to receive shares of the natural resource taxes paid by commercial investors working on communal lands. The Community Land Initiative also created producer associations to support budding commercial farmers, resolved boundary disputes, and worked with provincial cadastral officers to issue certificates that specified property boundaries. By mid-2016, the program had registered 655 communities in the government cadastre, covering about 6.9 million hectares and 10% of the country's rural population. This series asks, what makes traditional leaders and politicians more likely to lend their support for formalising individual and collective rights in an existing communal tenure system? In delineating boundaries and defining community membership, are some types of policies and practices more conducive to securing agreement than others? What kinds of practices or policies can help reduce off-registry transactions? In changing societies, what kinds of flexibilities should communal or incremental tenure systems include in order to remain viable or practicable?